Everyone, thank you for joining me on this session, building cybersecurity systems from ground up and not as a damage control strategy. Often what happens is we build systems, we upgrade systems as a response to any incident that happens in our environment. That's something that puts us in a liability situation and causes a lot of damage, and we are not prepared to face the eventualities of the situation, and we found ourselves unprepared. So my session will focus on what are the areas that we should look at, how it's being done, and what are the ways and means through which we can overcome the limitations. To start with, here is the agenda. We'll cover evolution of cybersecurity, cybersecurity as a priority in design, how to build cybersecurity from ground up, few facts we need to be aware of, and question to ask ourselves. So if you look at the evolution of cybersecurity, it has been always application and system centric. That means we used to do secure coding, code testing, hardening, VAPT, antivirus, and things like that. It has been kind of a response to various applications and systems that we host. And then we move to technology centric. We put various security appliances in place, like application firewalls, intrusion prevention systems, network access control, antivirus, firewall, and so forth. So that becomes technology centric. Now from there, we are right now moving on to attack centric. So botnets or malware or zero-day defense, we do threat modeling based on various attack vectors. So we put together inventory of attack vectors and look at how to defeat such targeted attacks. It could be phishing, it could be any type of attack that can you can be subjected to. So that's how the cybersecurity has evolved over a period of time. And in recent times, it has become more threat or attack centric. So if we have to make cybersecurity a priority and build bottoms up, then we need to have cybersecurity as a priority in design of any system or software on any application. So what exactly are we going to achieve by this? When you have cybersecurity as a basic building block, then we have to make one of the key objective will be to continually raise the immunity and resiliency of the system to attack. We build cybersecurity as not a bolt-on, but as something which is a part of the design element. So think of a example like in 80s or so, no car used to come with seat belt, and then beginning 90s, most of the cars are kind of started coming in seat belt as an option. So, but the regulator wanted to put seat belt as a mandatory requirement. So the older cars kind of put a add-on seat belt. So would you feel more secure in a car which is designed with a seat belt or which is retrofitted with a seat belt? The answer will be definitely the car which is built with a seat belt as a design element, because that's something that safety has been designed and many other aspects are being taken care of. So it is not add-on or an afterthought. So that is the whole point of having security, cybersecurity part of your design element. Second point is when the system get compromised, it should be able to return to a known good state. Why it is important? So with the prevalent of malwares, threats that are happening, and every second day we are getting a news of some organization or other getting compromised. So it's just a matter of time any organization can get compromised. And we have seen the biggest names in the industry getting compromised recent times. So it's also important. First, it's important not to get compromised, prevent it. It's also very important to make sure that when you get compromised, you recover from it without much damage. Okay, how that can happen? You should be able, the design should be such that you should be able to return back to a known good state and resume operations from there. The third aspect is segregate the system such that any incursion that can be contained in a way where the system's functionality, availability, and integrity and key assets cannot be accessed or modified. So this is basically to make sure that the attack surface is modular. That means if an intruder comes and attacks a system, he gets contained in a smaller area rather than kind of laterally move to all of your production environment, all of your business environment, and create havoc. And it should be designed in such manner that key assets should not be exposed directly to the attacker. That will prevent an organization to keep its crown jewels intact in an event of any attack. So how we can build the cybersecurity from ground up? First, govern the environment with policy and standards. Make sure that your security or cyber policies are clear and is communicated well. And there are checkpoints to make sure that policy are adhered to. Second point is include cybersecurity requirement as part of enterprise architecture. Traditionally, the enterprise architecture is designed for functionality, efficiency, effectiveness, customer service, and things that are critical to the revenue generation of an organization. But cybersecurity can undermine an organization's to generate or keep up with the revenue generation streams. Any adverse event can have multiple impacts in terms of monetary loss, reputation loss, or regulatory risk. So it should be part of the enterprise architecture as well. The third thing is develop strong security monitoring capabilities. If you do something and do not have matrices to monitor, then you will never be able to maintain the security posture that you have defined for yourself. It has to be monitored, the matrices need to be derived, and it has to be reported at all different levels. The fourth one is to build awareness and refresh continually. So education forms a very key aspect of cybersecurity when you are building it from ground up. Workforce need to be educated. People who develop software, they need to be educated differently. The management has to also be educated differently. So education at all levels with different targeted education, especially, is something that need to be done to make sure that the security is ingrained in the organization's culture. It is more to build the organization culture of cybersecurity. The fifth and the most important one is to review and improve continuously. This is one field which is never static and most dynamic than any other technology areas or software areas. The threats or attacks They change, their forms change every day, every minute. So there's only one way to cope up with the change. That's review and improve and make sure the people who are dealing with cybersecurity are connected to the changes happening anywhere in the world and make adjustments onto your environment, make architectural changes, make other changes that are relevant and required. So some facts that we need to be aware of. At the end of it, there is nothing called foolproof security, cyber security. There is nothing, no such term. So there is a control developed, there is a technology developed, there is someone developing a way to compromise it. And it's just a matter of time that the race is on. The second part is adversary or attacker, potential attacker, may be aware of a vulnerability in the software the developer doesn't, or the owner does not. That is what happened in many of the recent attacks that happened in global arena. Second part is cybersecurity measures has a cost attached to it. You have to build security. You have to invest to make yourself more secure. The investment goes hand in hand, and it's proportional to the cybersecurity measures that you can put. And it also has cost of performance, cost of productivity attached to it. So if you put more cybersecurity measures, there may be performance compromises that you may have to make in systems. There may be productivity compromises that you need to make. The third part is cybersecurity measures need to be constantly updated, whether it is attack signature, whether it is indicator of compromises, whether awareness in staff or customers. That is something that need to be constantly updated. And the last and the most important part is people are greatest assets and your weakest link. So educate people, educate the workforce, educate the users, educate the customers to make sure that they don't fall prey into the hand of cyber attackers. There are a few questions that we need to ask ourselves whether we are security ready. Most of the attacks that happened in recent times, they invariably exploited some of the vulnerabilities which have been patched long time back. An unpatched system is one of the major exposure for any organization. The first one is, are your system all up to date and patched? Are they recent versions? And are all of them patched to the latest patch level? Because most of the OEMs keep a tab on the vulnerabilities that happen to their subsystem. So if it is patched, there's a very good likelihood that the system will have lesser threat. The second question is, are our security controls properly configured? You may have the best of tools. If they are not configured well, so they may get compromised. And misconfiguration causes a lot of attacks in recent times. The third question is access to and management of critical systems segregated? One system getting attacked should not make all other systems vulnerable. So the access and management of critical systems need to be segregated so as to prevent the cascading attacks. The fourth question is, are we promoting cybersecurity awareness for the ecosystem? Are we building a culture of security? Are the workforce, the management, and the customers which make up our ecosystem educated on cybersecurity? That's very important. People are the weakest link. And invariably, most of the attacks that has happened, uses people as a medium to get into the organization. The fifth question is, are you keeping up with the emerging threats and technologies? So working from home, we are exposed to a lot of technologies which were not the case before the pandemic started. So with use of technologies and emerging threats, we need to be aware of what is happening, what we need to do. So threats need preventive measures, technology needs to be configured properly so as to reduce the attack surface and make us less vulnerable. The sixth question is, are we conducting periodic audits and assessment? One important aspect of cybersecurity is to have checkpoints. Are you doing audits? External audits, internal audits, assessments, various assessment, vulnerability analysis, and configuration assessments. These are very critical steps that need to be performed to make sure that checkpoints are being met. And those ensure that the organization has a good governance from an assessment perspective. The last one is, are we prepared? So in case an adverse event that happens, okay, how do we respond to that? Is that something that we are prepared for? Do we have a playbook to follow and adhere to if we have a malware attack? Or if we have any other cyber attack, do we have a playbook that we can follow? If we have a disaster, can you follow a playbook, cyber disaster? Can you follow a playbook and get out of it? That's also very important. With this, I'll come to the end of the session. Thank you very much